Okay, so imagine you're scrolling through crypto Twitter at 2 a.m., which, let's be honest, we've all done, and you see Solana just hit a new all-time high. And there's this thought that creeps into your head. Should I have bought more? Did I miss it? Who even created this thing? Here's the thing. Most people investing in Solana, or really any cryptocurrency, have absolutely no idea who built it, why they built it, or what their actual incentives are. And, well, that's kind of insane when you think about it, because you're literally putting your money into something without knowing who's behind the wheel. So today, I'm going to tell you the actual story of Anatoly Yakovenko, the guy who founded Solana. And I'm not talking about some puff piece bio you'd find on a crypto news site. I'm talking about the real story, the decisions he made, the mistakes, the controversies, and what it all means for your money. Because here's what most people don't realize. Understanding the founder isn't just interesting trivia, it's actually one of the smartest financial decisions you can make. All right, so let's go back to 2017. Anatoly Yakovenko is working at Qualcomm as a senior engineer. He's not some 19-year-old college dropout living in his parents' basement. The guy's in his mid-30s, married, has a legit career designing compression algorithms for cell phones. And one night, and this is according to his own interviews, he's drinking coffee at like 3 a.m., slightly over-caffeinated, and he has this realization about how Bitcoin and Ethereum are processing transactions. And he thinks, wait, this is incredibly inefficient. See, most blockchains at the time were processing like 15 transactions per second. Ethereum was getting congested, fees were going up, and Anatoly's sitting there thinking, I literally designed systems that process millions of operations per second. Why can't blockchains do this? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Most people would have that thought and then go back to their day job. But Anatoly does something different. He quits Qualcomm, a stable, high-paying job, and starts working on what would become Solana. And this is the first psychological insight I want you to catch. The guy gave up security for a vision. That's not a red flag or a green flag, it's just data. It tells you he's either incredibly confident or incredibly reckless. We'll come back to which one it is. So Anatoly starts building, and he brings in some former Qualcomm colleagues. Raj Gokul becomes co-founder. Greg Fitzgerald joins as principal engineer. And they're working on this core innovation called proof of history. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the technical details, but here's the simple version. Most blockchains at the time had to constantly ask, what time is it, to keep all the computers in sync. Anatoly figured out a way to embed time into the blockchain itself, which means transactions can process way faster. It's kind of like the difference between a group of people trying to agree on what time it is by shouting at each other versus everyone just wearing a synchronized watch. One is way more efficient. And look, this is genuinely innovative, like legitimately smart engineering. Solana can theoretically process 65,000 transactions per second. Ethereum at the time, 15. But here's the thing that nobody talks about. Innovation and good investment aren't the same thing. You can have the most brilliant technology in the world, but if the incentives are misaligned, if the execution is flawed, if the founder makes bad decisions, it doesn't matter how smart the tech is. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Solana has had some serious issues, and understanding how Anatoly responded to them tells you a lot about what you're actually investing in. Issue number 1, the network outages. Between 2021 and 2023, Solana went down multiple times, like completely offline. Transactions stopped processing, the whole network just froze. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's just tech problems, right? Things break. And yeah, sure, but here's the deeper issue. When a network goes down, your money is stuck. You can't buy, you can't sell, you can't move it. And in crypto, where prices can swing 20% in an hour, that's a massive risk. So how did Anatoly respond? He was actually pretty transparent about it. He didn't make excuses. He said, yeah, we prioritized speed over stability and we're fixing it. And to his credit, they did. The network's been more stable since late 2023. But here's what most people don't realize. That transparency is rare in crypto. Most founders would have deflected, blamed users, or gone silent. The fact that Anatoly owned it tells you something about his character. Issue number 2, the FTX collapse. Now, this is where it gets messy. In November 2022, FTX, one of the biggest crypto exchanges, completely imploded, and Solana got destroyed. The price went from around $35 to $8 in a matter of days. Why? Because Sam Bankman-Fried at FTX were heavily invested in Solana, like really heavily. Alameda Research, SBF's trading firm, held massive amounts of SOL tokens, and when FTX collapsed, everyone assumed Solana was going down with it. Now here's the thing, Anatoly and Solana Labs didn't do anything wrong. They weren't running FTX, but the optics were terrible. And in investing, optics matter. But this is where it gets really interesting. A lot of founders in that position would have panicked, sold their tokens, or abandoned the project. Anatoly didn't. He kept building. The team kept shipping updates, and by late 2024, Solana had not only recovered, but was hitting new highs. That tells you something too. It tells you he's not just here for a quick cash grab. Because if he was, he had the perfect exit in 2021 when Solana hit $260. All right, now let's talk about something most people completely ignore. How much SOL does Anatoly actually own, and what does that mean for you? According to various disclosures, Anatoly and the founding team hold a significant percentage of the total SOL supply. Estimates range from 10 to 15% depending on the source. Let's do the math. If Solana's market cap is around $80 billion as of early 2026, and the founding team holds 12%, that's roughly $9.6 billion in holdings. Now, you might be thinking, wait, so this guy's a billionaire, and I'm supposed to feel good about that? And look, I get the emotional reaction, but here's the psychological shift you need to make. Founder holdings aren't inherently bad. In fact, they can be good, because it means Anatoly's incentives are aligned with yours. If Solana succeeds, he wins. If it fails, he loses massively. Compare that to something like a meme coin where the founders dump their tokens and disappear. Anatoly can't do that without tanking his own wealth. The question isn't, is he rich? The question is he incentivized to keep building? And based on the data, the answer is yes. Here's something I find fascinating. If you watch Anatoly in interviews, he's not a hype guy. He's not out there promising Solana will hit $10,000 or saying it's going to replace Ethereum tomorrow. He's actually pretty measured. He talks about trade-offs. He admits when things go wrong. He focuses on technical progress, not price. And this is where the psychology of investing gets interesting, because most retail investors, and look, I'm including myself here, we want the hype. We want the founder who's going to pump our bags and make us feel smart for buying in. But the reality is, those are the founders who usually disappear when things get hard. The boring technical founders who just keep building, those are the ones who tend to create long-term value. Now, does that mean Solana is a guaranteed winner? No, nothing in crypto is guaranteed, but it does mean you're dealing with someone who seems to be playing the long game. All right, so here's what I actually want you to take away from this, because it's not really about Anatoly, it's about how you think about investing. Most people treat crypto like a lottery ticket. They buy based on price movements, hype, or what some influencer said, and they have no idea who's actually building the thing they're investing in. But here's the thing, every investment is ultimately a bet on people, on their vision, their competence, their integrity, and their incentives. When you buy Solana, you're not just buying a token, you're betting on Anatoly Yakovenko and his team will continue building, continue innovating, and continue making decisions that grow the network. And based on what we know, his background, his response to crises, his incentive structure, his leadership style, is that a good bet? I can't answer that for you, but now you actually have the information to answer it for yourself. So here's your homework, and this applies to any crypto project, not just Solana. Step 1, research the founder. Who are they? What's their background? What have they built before? You can usually find this on LinkedIn, old interviews, or the project's website. Step 2, look at their incentives. How much of the token supply do they hold? Have they been selling? Are they aligned for long-term success or short-term profit? Step 3, watch how they handle adversity. Every project faces challenges. Do they own mistakes? Do they communicate clearly? Or do they deflect and hype? Step 4, evaluate the team's execution. Are they shipping updates, hitting milestones, or are they all talk and no delivery? This isn't just for crypto. This framework works for stocks, startups, real estate partnerships, anything where you're trusting other people with your money. Look, here's the truth. Anatoly Yakovenko isn't a hero or a villain. He's an engineer who had an idea, took a massive risk, and built something genuinely innovative. He's made mistakes, he's navigated crises, and he's still here building. Does that mean you should buy Solana? That's not for me to say, but it does mean if you're going to invest in it, you should do it with eyes wide open, knowing who's behind it and what their track record actually looks like. Because here's the thing, informed investing isn't about finding the perfect project with zero risk. It's about understanding the risks you're taking and deciding if the potential